NATO has been in the news for the past few months. Many countries want to join NATO. Will Ukraine join NATO? Will NATO come to help? But what is NATO? Why was NATO formed? How was NATO formed? The North Atlantic Treaty Organization was created in 1949 by the United States, Canada, and several Western European nations to provide collective security against the Soviet Union. NATO was the first peacetime military alliance the United States entered into outside of the Western Hemisphere. In 1947-48, a series of events caused the nations of Western Europe to become concerned about their physical and political security, and the United States to become more closely involved with European affairs. After the destruction of the Second World War, the nations of Europe struggled to rebuild their economies and ensure their security. It required a massive influx of aid to help the war-torn landscape re-establish industries and produce food. It also required assurances against a resurgent Germany or incursions from the Soviet Union. In mid-1948, Soviet Premier Joseph Stalin chose to test Western resolve by implementing a blockade against West Berlin, which was then under joint US, British and French control, but surrounded by Soviet-controlled East Germany. This Berlin crisis brought the United States and the Soviet Union to the brink of conflict. In the years following the Second World War in Greece, the communists engaged in violent conflicts against the government forces who were receiving massive military and financial aid from Britain and later from the US. As a neighbor of Turkey, Greece was an area of prime importance from an economic and strategic viewpoint for preventing Soviet domination of the Eastern Mediterranean and protecting Middle East oil supplies. The United States was therefore committed to preserving the independence and territorial integrity of the kingdom. The Turkish Straits crisis was a Cold War-era territorial conflict between the Soviet Union and Turkey. Post-Second World War, Turkey was pressured by the Soviet government to allow Soviet shipping to flow freely through the Turkish Straits, which connected the Black Sea to the Mediterranean. As the Turkish government refused the Soviet Union's request, tensions arose in the region, leading to a Soviet show of naval force. Fearing Soviet design on the straits, Britain and the United States declared their support for Turkey, and a naval task force was dispatched to the region. All of these reasons led the then US President Harry S. Truman to assert that the United States would provide economic and military aid to both Greece and Turkey, as well as to any other nation struggling against an attempt at subjugation. The Western European countries were willing to consider a collective security solution. In response to increasing tensions and security concerns, representatives of several countries of Western Europe gathered together to create a military alliance. Great Britain, France, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg signed the Brussels Treaty in March 1948. Their treaty provided collective defense. If any one of these nations was attacked, the others were bound to help defend it. At the same time, the Truman administration instituted a peacetime draft, increased military spending, and called upon the historically isolationist Republican Congress to consider a military alliance with Europe. There were majorly three issues encountered while forming NATO. First, in spite of general agreement on the concept behind the treaty, it took several months to work out the exact terms. The US Congress had embraced the pursuit of the international alliance, but it remained concerned about the wording of the treaty. The nations of Western Europe wanted assurances that the United States would intervene automatically in the event of an attack. But under the US Constitution, the power to declare war rested with Congress. Negotiations worked toward finding language that would reassure the European states, but not obligate the United States to act in a way that violated its own laws. Second, European contributions to collective security would require large-scale military assistance from the United States to help rebuild Western Europe's defense capabilities. While the European nations argued for individual grants and aid, the United States wanted to make aid conditional on regional coordination. A third issue was the question of scope. The Brussels Treaty signatories preferred that membership in the alliance be restricted to the members of that treaty plus the United States. The US negotiators felt there was more to be gained from enlarging the new treaty to include the countries of the North Atlantic, including Canada, Iceland, Denmark, Norway, Ireland, and Portugal. Together, these countries held territory that formed a bridge between the opposite shores of the Atlantic Ocean, which would facilitate military action if it became necessary. The result of these extensive negotiations was the signing of the North Atlantic Treaty in 1949. In this agreement, the United States, Canada, Belgium, Denmark, France, Iceland, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, and the United Kingdom agreed to consider an attack against one an attack against all, along with consultations about threats and defense matters. This collective defense arrangement only formally applied to attacks against the signatories that occurred in Europe or North America. It did not include conflicts in colonial territories. After the treaty was signed, a number of the signatories made requests to the United States for military aid. Later in 1949, President Truman proposed a military assistance program, and the Mutual Defense Assistance Program was passed by the US Congress in October, appropriating some $1.4 billion for the purpose of building Western European defenses. And this was how NATO came into existence. If you liked this video, then do subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching. We will be back with another video soon. Till then, bye-bye.